Hello and welcome to the Musical Instrument Investigator. Today we are on the website of Amber Violins based in the UK and we are looking at their April sale. The catalogue has been up since about the 10th of April and it is due to finish on April the 20th. So today we have a special guest from the US, from Ohio. We have Max with us. Hello, Max.
Hello.
So Max, you like me are very interested in kind of musical instruments and follow the auctions a bit, don't you?
Yeah, yes, exactly. Oh, I'm no expert, but do love looking at these auctions and sometimes having a little opinion on them, buying a little from them. So it's definitely gonna be how should I say it? It's definitely gonna be fun looking at having a nice discussion with you over these auctions. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a similar interest. So without further ado, we'll go into the auction and see what we have. So we have about 74 items, I think here, just checking. Mostly violins and a few bows. I've had a quick brief look over the auction. I think Max has as well. Just to say, as per normal, looks like 20% buyer's premium. So make sure if you bid, just to factor that in. I've seen here that it says British buyers will no longer be able to use the margin scheme for VAT. So if you're like a business, then you might want to be aware of that. So 20% VAT added to the invoice, and you probably won't be able to claim it back because the lots are imported. So there you go. You're being punished for your own country's decision to step away from Europe there. But if you're buying from Europe, you'll be fine. So there you go. Another wonderful thing of Brexit even. So be aware of that. Yeah, so there you go, Max. If you wanted to buy something, you won't have that 20% VAT. But if I was, then I'll be liable for it. So that's an interesting
Speaking of
one.
speaking of which, I remember Brompton still has some sort of a VAT refund if you're from overseas, but they charge you upfront for that.
Oh, really? Okay, interesting. So you have to pay it and then claim it back. So
Yeah.
interesting. Oh, have you bought a few things from Brompton's before then?
No, yeah, I wasn't. I was bidding on a few auctions, never really won. Um, and the thing with auction house in the UK is because they have this VAT, and technically they're selling the service, which they had to add that on your auction premium, and it's just easier for them to charge that to everyone. And
Right.
some auction houses, if if they claim that if you show a proof that you have the instrument eventually exported from the UK, they can have it refunded to you. And some other auction house, I was looking at a painting at Bonhams, they just straight up like, we're not going to refund you. Doesn't matter where you're from.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh well, that's the pitfalls I say to people on these videos. If you're bidding from abroad, be very careful and look at the specs and look at the kind of the terms of the auction, because you could be in for some crazy charges. I mean, I was interested in a violin from Teresio and I asked for a quote, Teresio, New York. I asked for a shipping quote for one violin and they said to me $500. And I just thought, well, that's actually ridiculous. Like, I know that it can cost like about $250, but
Yeah.
$500, I just thought, like, that's going to be like 4 times the value of the instrument I was interested in. So yeah, you really need to kind of, to anyone watching, definitely investigate the charges on all things. So yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
of pitfalls, isn't there?
Yeah. Well, just before you get started, because I actually bought a violin from Amber a few years ago. I think they have a fixed rate on shipping, so
Okay.
yeah, I think shipping from this auction house is generally quite easy. I think it's one of the advantage with them. Yeah, so I had a pretty good experience last time I bought something from them.
Okay, well, that's good to know. Okay, well, without further ado, let's just get into it. Let's just go into the first lot and see. So we have Viola here, circa 1900, German or Bohemian viola. One repaired crack in the table, treble F hole, otherwise good condition. Length of back 385, so it's fairly smallish. Let's just have a quick look at the front there, just for provenance sake, if anyone wants to look back. I think one thing I like about the Amber auctions is I think they have the best amount of kind of pictures, or the best detailed pictures of any auction house I've seen Do you have any kind of thoughts on that, Max?
Yeah, I mean, really appreciate all the, especially the picture. They always take a picture of the bottom of the instrument to show you the button, the
Okay, like this one here.
because that could be very important to kind of judging the provenance of the instrument. The most auctions don't even bother. Some auctions wouldn't even show the other side of the scroll. They always make sure it doesn't matter what kind of instrument it is. You're seeing four sides of the scroll, all sides of the instrument, which, like I said, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I do think that is one thing that's really good about Amber Violins, is that they have just such a really good amount of pictures, really. So let's go on. Let me just go back here and we'll go to the next lot. If the internet wants to let me. So a small violin, Mircore, circa 1925. Everyone knows how much I love the Mircore violins. I don't think there's too much to talk about on this one, so we'll just quickly have a look at the front. Have a look at the front of the scroll. Good close-up pictures there of the scroll. So have a quick look to the next lot. Another violin, Mircore, 1925, circa 1925. The type imported to the UK by W.E. Hill and Sons. There you go. Poor repair, damage to the button. You can see that. Good images that you can zoom in as well. I think some of the auction houses I looked at recently, they just have like one picture at like a really dodgy angle, but then some of the instruments they're trying to sell are like, £5,000 or something, and you just think, well, how is anyone going to kind of bid on that with such poor pictures? So
For auction house that are not specialized in musical instruments, I will always just ask them for more pictures and actually kind of show them how to measure the bag so they can do it for me. And most of them are pretty cooperative. It's just a little extra work, I guess.
yeah. It's just sometimes you just think, well, why don't they just have some of those pictures there in the first place? At least a few. But yeah, like you say, most auction houses will cooperate and kind of give you additional information if you ask them. So here, violin, interesting early 19th century. Is interesting being my favourite word. So 19th century violin, crack near the post in the table, also lower table, table edge fragment missing, net graph unglued, which I think is like an important thing. That's an expensive repair, so people need to be aware of that. Length back 353 is quite reasonable. So you can see the button is a bit funky there. Let's have a quick look at the top. I mean, it's a nice enough looking instrument, I suppose. Interesting, as they say. Prompton's favourite word, and mine. You can see the edges of the graph there. So it's an interesting scroll, actually. I quite like that.
Looks like an old scroll, but may have to work on that JPEG as well.
Yeah, that's a good bit of angle there. Artistic, I'd like to say. I wonder if we can see that the graft. There you go. Yeah, perfect. You can see that the graft is open there. So, like I said, that's a costly repair straight away, and these horrible cheek patches at the side. So, I think people try and avoid doing that repairs like this these days if they can, because they are horrible. But unfortunately, that one has it. So, and we go onwards to the next lot. Violin labelled René Kuhn, Mircore, 1930. My pronunciation is absolutely terrible, so I'm probably insulting everyone, which is good. Insult everyone equally. Have a quick look. If there's any pictures you want me to look at in particular, Max, just let me know. I just do the token kind of front, back and front of scroll, really, just so people are aware. Sometimes maybe like this, do a quick one on the side.
Okay, it mentions the Apple Atelier. I guess that's a kind of a big name. It's a lot of instrument with that label in it. Well, I mean, not with the Hinokun label, but the Apple Hoots.
Right.
I
Okay.
thought, yeah.
Okay. And let's go to the next lot. Violin by Charles Bailey, Miracle, 1920. Is this a bit more of your interest, or is this a bit later French for you?
I mean, there's just so many of these Charles Bailey out there that I kind of just skip them with.
Yeah, it's one of your kind of move past kind of ones.
Yeah.
For some reason, I personally just have very little interest in these kind of miracle violins. I don't know why. I think it's probably not a good thing to be so dismissive of them, but especially these kind of later ones, I just not that excited by them.
I would say probably because they are. I would say like consistently looking the same in a way.
Yeah.
That yeah.
Yeah, it's just nothing kind of exciting about them. It's like these kind of JTL ones. I think I'm not even going to kind of look in the scroll of this one. I'll just kind of go past that one. I think we see a lot of these JTL ones.
Oh, nice.
So violin, Calcin style, Corsin, or whatever you want to pronounce it. Miracle, 1920. Small crack on table above the bridge. Treble
on the
noise.
On the long side, but I guess normal for French violins.
Yeah, 359 is kind of getting on the long side, but if you've got long arms, then I guess that could be useful.
Yep.
I think I've got a violin somewhere that's kind of like 364 or something like that. Yeah. So that's getting pretty long. Have a quick look at the scroll there. Okay. And violin with signature, Brazil, 1914. So slightly different. Violin, circa 1914. Illegible signature, Brazil, 1914. Minor scuffs and scratches. Good condition. Length of back, 356. Any thoughts on this one at all?
Not familiar with Brazilian instruments.
No.
I mean, to my eyes, there's nothing wrong with it, I guess.
Yeah, but nothing that's kind of inspiring financial investment either.
Yeah.
Okay, have a quick look at the scroll there. Interesting pegs there.
Yeah.
Someone said.
You may have a hard time holding strings up with these pegs. May have to put some new ones in.
Yeah, I think that definitely will require some work there. Obviously, someone was struggling a bit. Maybe they're not staying properly, so someone thought that might help the strings a bit.
The thing with some of these older instruments that they're just all these funky repairs that sometimes you even question what they're trying to do. Or some of them are just quick fixes, but kind of ruining the instrument too.
I think historically a lot of people kind of amateur people or kind of just individuals like to kind of do little things and think it's a good idea, and then it's just like a problem for people later on. So okay, violin French, circa 1900. Good bit of graffiti, as you like, carved in. I don't think we need to really adventure too much into this one, although the varnish looks kind of fairly pleasant. I think we can skip through for now. There's definitely going to be someone watching at some stage in the future that loves French violins. It's just going to be extremely offended, but I think it's fine. Violin German or Bohemian, circa 1925. Length of back 360, so that's getting pretty big there. But then again, there's a lot of great instruments that are that kind of length, and if you're a person with a bit of a longer reach, then that's exactly what you might need. So
actually, if you don't mind, we can also take a look at how the neck is set up for all these instruments, because I've seen enough instruments having issues in that department.
Right. Okay.
the root of the neck. A lot of these instruments tend to have that sort of problem.
Do you mean you want to look at like this kind of picture,
Or actually like on the fingerboard side. Yeah.
okay, what,
Yeah.
like
So like
here?
the side, yeah, or maybe the side view that you can see the bridge,
Oh,
so you
this
can see
one.
yeah, so you can see if the neck's at the right angle. For example,
Right,
this
okay.
one is fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, basically
some
to see the angle might be wrong, and then that's a bit of money to correct
yeah,
again. So I think that's the thing. A lot of people I've seen, like a lot of students, like kind of students in the conservatoires, looking at instruments at auction, because obviously it seems like you get a better deal. But if you take into consideration the work you normally have to do to an instrument from the auction, not always, it depends on the instrument in the auction, but the work that you need to do to get them up to standard can be quite substantial, I think.
absolutely, yeah.
And I always say to people, where possible, try and look at the instrument in person, because I've bought a few things off just looking online, and when they arrive, it's like completely, sometimes it looks completely different, the varnish, sometimes in a good way, sometimes in a bad way. So
Yeah.
so here we go, another Miracle violin, 1930, copy of Seraphim apparently, so from Mark Lebert kind of workshop. Some seams unglued, length of back 353. It's got a kind of bird's eye kind of grain going on there. Let's have a quick
I
look
mean, in a way, it's really nice they're able to attribute some of these, typical factory violins to these workshops.
at.
That definitely helps low with the value.
Definitely. And I think that these can be like really great instruments for people actually. And at the moment, they're not too pricey, but I'm sure in time, all the values of these instruments is probably gonna start skyrocketing as well.
I don't know if I'm looking at this wrong, but it looks to me that the fingerboard projection is a little high on this one.
Okay, let's
So
have a quick look back to a good. Yeah, I mean it's hard to tell, isn't it, without the bridge on? But I mean it
yeah,
definitely. This kind of, that almost looks like to the top there would be potentially the correct projection, and then this kind of bit's a bit high. But it's difficult to tell, isn't it, without the bridge? But I think you're probably right. Yeah, the angle's quite steep, isn't it?
yeah. There's one really cursed thing about a lot of these instruments that they will set up a neck without thinking too much about the angle, and they realized that the fingerboard's going up too high. They started trimming that fingerboard, so the fingerboard sometimes will end up looking like a wedge than a proper rectangle from the side.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I think what's interesting as well, a bit with some of these instruments, maybe they were kind of made and then they've kind of not had any adjustments, or they were played for a bit and then put away in a case. And sometimes like the necks can kind of move one way or the other after they're first made, so sometimes you still have to make some corrections. And I guess a lot of these kind of workshop violins, etc., other instruments might not have that kind of adjustment, I presume. Like you have, when you make the instrument, you have like the first sound post, and then over time the instrument will kind of settle and you'll have to probably fit another sound post. But the neck can also kind of start to move a bit as well, so you might have to do a kind of minor reset as well. I've noticed that a few kind of instruments, a few luthiers have mentioned that before, so I'm not sure if that's something which happens a lot with these kind of workshop instruments. Okay, so here we go. It's another workshopper, Colin Mazar, Miracle, 1941. I think this one as well. We probably don't. It's had a
Very typical work of the Colin Mazan third workshop. They'll kind of all look like this in the
yeah.
40s. This one is, I guess, particularly long. Normally they'll be at 355, 357.
Yeah, 360 is quite long, isn't it? And let's see. I think it's got the kind of
Arching.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at.
Or if you take down the bass bar, you should be able to see the other side.
Yeah, that one has a bit more of a believable projection, and then it has the kind of the blackened scroll edges.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like it's been played quite a bit, which I've been told to kind of look out for that. That can be a good sign that someone loved it for a time in any case. So, okay, let's go on. Another French violin, 1910.
Going back Colin Mazar, I can just take a look at the label. Just want to see
Oh yeah,
because they had different grades of violins at this time. Just kind of want to see how they put this one in.
okay. Let's see if they're. Here we go.
Oh, okay. I was not too sure, but it's not one of the kind that use this. They kind of use the better wood. But,
Okay.
yeah.
This looks. Is this kind of like a middle grade one? Do you think?
I guess from Colomazon at the time are all probably sold as higher level. Well, they're not necessarily made by the workshop. They could be imported from some other suppliers. Even they all look the same.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what 24 means. You have to take a look at their catalog. There are all these Colomazon catalogs available online. So I guess that's if you're interested in buying an instrument like this, you can kind of cross check with that as well.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing about some of these workshop instruments is there are quite a bit of resources around. I suppose it's like if in the US people are very keen on the Roth kind of workshop violins, aren't they? And like you can still contact the family and find out about a particular instrument. So I suppose a lot of these workshop ones, like you said, there's the catalogues around and you can really research them quite well to see kind of what you're getting.
And I guess one comment on later Colomazon is that there doesn't have to be a signature inside. There are people who are actually looking for that signature, but the guy's dead by this point. They're just sometimes they just put a little paper, like another label with a signature on it, and just glue it in. Sometimes they don't even bother with that. Doesn't make a difference. So.
Okay, well, yeah, that's good information. So if you're interested in a Colin Mazar violin, then have a look at some catalogues, do a bit of research, because there are a lot of kind of dubious quality violins with this label in as well that are not from that workshop or from that supplier. So there could still be people trying to rip you off even at the lower end, I presume. So violin, French, circa 1910. Let's have a quick look at this. A quick look at the scroll. And not the most wonderful of scrolls there. Carry on. When the internet decides it wants to work. Right, violin by William Dobby, Glasgow, 1902. So I'm a fan of Scottish and English violins. So looks to be an interesting enough instrument. What's the length of back? 360. So that's quite a long one. Looks like it's had some kind of varnish touch-ups. Let's have a look at here, the projection view.
Not too bad, I guess.
Yeah, looks potentially viable. You'd have to get it checked out, but not too bad. So many pictures here. The scroll is it's a bit squat, isn't it? It's a bit narrow, but it's not
there's quite some character in this one.
Yeah.
If you see how far in the purfling is from the edge of the plates.
Okay, yeah.
Another big corners, I guess.
Yeah, it's a bit kind of uneven, isn't it? As well. So, but it has character for sure.
Yeah.
It's quite quite tidy. I do like these kind of things, and it's not a Miyako violin, so that's good. That's a bonus. Speaking of Miyako, or Paris or Miyako, 1910. School of Gallard, minor chips and scratches, length of back 358. I think we can just do a front picture on that.
I mean, it's just kind of astonishing that people were able to. It's like second time mentioning this, but people were able to actually like attribute these 1900s like minor chord mass-produced instruments to a particular school or workshop. I mean, I couldn't possibly spend that much time studying these instruments, but
yeah, exactly. There's, like you say, there's people that have expertise in all different types of instruments, and they like French, Italian, German, etc. So, I mean, there's so many Miyako violins that come through Amber Violins. I assume that they have some kind of dealings with someone in France, or they deal with go round France collecting violins, especially if he's saying that they're all imported. So I presume that the person that runs Amber Violins is very knowledgeable on French instruments, I guess, or that's where they feel most at home, I suppose.
Yep.
But it's definitely not something I'm particularly knowledgeable about. So violin Mittenwald, circa 1900, German violin, button repaired, we can see that. Table in need of repairs, 2 cracks, a screw hole in neck, length back 356. So I think a lot of people like these old Mittenwald violins. It has some charm, but you can see that it needs a few repairs. Let's look at the projection view.
it does look like that crack has been glued up. Oh, there's no fingerboard.
Oh yes, no fingerboard. Yeah, so I guess we can kind of try and guess a bit from take a line from the thing. I mean, it looks like it could be okay. So
it's funny. I actually know teachers or dealers. They just import these kind of instruments. But they import a lot of them, have them set up, sell them to students for cheap. I mean, because if these instruments are properly set up, they're really not bad for like a students or beginners.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they're well made. Like, it's a nice kind of scroll. They have charm and they have some age, and people I think do like an instrument with an age. This one, I find the back a bit unappealing, but otherwise, yeah, it looks all right. Apart from this giant screw hole in the neck there. So.
Well, I hope this one doesn't need a new neck, because that would be expensive.
That would be expensive, yeah. Either it's a giant screw hole or a really, really fat woodworm larvae.
The back of the scroll actually looks pretty good.
Let's have a quick look at that. Back of the scroll.
Let's staying that from the previous picture.
Sorry, say that again?
I just saw this from the previous picture when you're showing the back, that the back of the scroll looks kind of interesting.
Okay, yeah. No, I think the scroll looks quite tidy to me. I think it looks like a nice kind of well-made instrument. I do like the kind of the top and the purfling work. The varnish actually looks quite nice. The purfling's quite wide on this instrument.
Just my opinion that this instrument almost has a French look.
Okay.
The white corner. I don't know if you felt the same as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It definitely has something kind of a little bit different about it for sure. I think it could clean up quite nicely. Yeah, I think there's something in that one. So no bids yet. So maybe you could get in on that, Max.
Well, unfortunately, not the kind I'm looking for at the moment.
Okay, let's have a look at number 18. Violin by Amédée Dudouin, Mirecourt 1924. So have a quick look here. It's getting towards...
Which every time when there's an auction in Amber, they tend to have a lot of instruments from this workshop, and I thought they would go really quick. Because some of them use some really nice wood. This one's alright. I've seen like Dudons with just absolutely beautiful back, and somehow they're not as desirable as say the Colin Mazan.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the projection looks like it might be a bit high on this potentially,
Um, Not
or
too sure.
it's
Yeah.
borderline, isn't it? It's,
Yeah. And to my own trained eyes, this doesn't look too far off.
there's the scroll. It's not too bad. Quick look at the back. Yeah, it looks like quite a nice instrument. Good condition. It's getting on the longer side, but not too bad. Yeah, could be a good instrument. So another Mittenwald violin, circa 1900. This one 360 scratches. This one is, I don't know, not quite as appealing as the other one so far, in my opinion. We have a fingerboard, so we can check the projection.
Oh, looks almost like a. I don't know if it's because the front has a low arching, or if the neck is coming up a little too high.
Mm.
Yeah, almost looks like the fingerboard's a little too high, but
yeah,
not.
there's something slightly odd going on there. Let's have a look at this scroll.
You know, this is almost a bit of a philosophical thing to think about. Some of these instruments, you know, especially this one, I suspect it was made with some sort of red varnish, and you have all these dirt coming out on it.
Right.
So sometimes when you have an instrument they're not particularly well made, but you know, after years of use, the varnish turns out looking very good. So I don't know if the other one we're looking at is this case where they were actually made with pretty good varnish.
Right. Okay.
This one, I don't know if it's just because it got really dirty.
Yeah.
Or it has this sort of a dark varnish on it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying here. I think there might be an element of that as well. It's got some odd. I don't know if these are kind of a bit strange. These look a bit artificial, but or even look like they could be repaired worm marks or something. But it's a bit odd. But anyway, to the next one. Violin, Paris 1906, labelled CSC Michel, 358. Quick look at the front.
This one looks really clean, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, it does look in pretty good condition. Let's have a quick look at the scroll. Yeah. Well, it looks well made. Not particularly inspiring for me, but there's a lot of people that like these ones.
I mean, personally, I'm definitely more interested in an instrument where they actually draw that black lining, especially on the French instrument, because sometimes I guess it adds a little character to it, and if it's properly done, it does look good. And sometimes it gets really messy. So.
Yeah, exactly. Violin, Germany, circa 1900. Let's just have a quick look at this. Once again, that looks in pretty good condition compared to some of the others. Let's actually quickly look at the projection here. There you go, you got the full setup. So the bridge looks quite high on that one. Maybe it's just my eyes.
Yeah, it looks pretty high to me as well.
So
sometimes sometimes to kind of compensate for a high projection, they'll put a high bridge on it, and from certain luthiers, I've heard this may kill the sound.
Yeah, it's quite steep, the angle over the bridge, so that might well need some adjustment, I would think. So a picture there of the scroll. I think we can move on. Another this is JB Collab, which I think Miracle Circuit 1900. I believe that these were like produced by like the Libert workshop to kind of rival the success of Colin Mazin, I believe, but I don't know if you've kind of have much.
Heard something about, not too sure about the history. The Colin is also a name where I just skip on auctions because they're everywhere, and
yeah,
the resale value is not that high, but like you said, I don't remember about the connection with Ludwig, but I guess these are potentially pretty good instruments too.
Yeah, I've seen one actually in the flesh, one of these JB Collin instruments actually, and it was actually very nice. It was very nicely made, so I think it'd be a very good kind of like student instrument, at least up to like a fairly good level. Maybe beginnings of like conservatoire kind of training or something. Okay, so a violin by A.C. Lancaster, Colne, 1901. Copy, an English violin by A.C. Lancaster, Colne. Some varnish loss, distortion of lower rib. So length back 361, so it's a big one. Is the stamp.
I'm not sure about the description here. Is it a copy of this Lancaster, or is it actually by this person?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. What
It
does that
says
actually
by.
mean? Yeah, I think we would have to inquire a bit about that one. This is quite a nice view actually. This is probably gives people a good indication of like how many photos Amber Violins actually have. Like this is kind of unprecedented level of pictures in my opinion from kind of an auction house. You really do get to see the whole thing. Oh, here's the distortion they were talking about. That's pretty bad. So it almost looks like it's been melted in a bit of a strange
Yeah.
way. So that is quite
And
curious.
there's an open seam, and the back needs
Yeah,
straight. I don't even know how you can actually fix that though.
yeah. There's definitely some work needed on that. It's quite the that peg box is quite wide actually, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's quite wide.
well, like this whole instrument's it's gone through some sort of I don't know if it's because of moisture or heat or some sort of
Hmm. Yeah, it's just
or if it's just made this way.
there's something a little bit odd about it. Um, yeah, usually I'm kind of very interested in these English instruments, but this one, not so much. Obviously, the auction's only just started, but no bids on that one so far. £500. It's not too expensive, but yeah, this one I think would be a pass for me. Uh, Violin M Quattro Atelier, circa 1920. I think this is much of the same again, but let's just have a quick look at the front there.
It's your very typical minor chord workshop instrument.
Yeah, exactly. I can move on to that. Another Mircore, 1860 Remy. This is a little bit different, a bit older. Very big, 362. Interesting varnish. It looks like claw marks. Someone's tried to claw it there. I still unfortunately find these ones quite uninspiring as well. But that's just once again my opinion. Let's have a quick look at the scroll. Ooh. That's good. I just do really like the pictures on this site. I think they're very good.
I mean, it's amazing. No, it doesn't matter which instrument, you always take this many pictures. Their
Yeah.
auction house, they're even like for loss or value lower, they wouldn't even bother taking more than 3 pictures.
Oh, definitely. Well, I've seen some auction houses that clearly like don't really think about what they're doing, because I've seen ones where they'll take like 10 pictures of like a really low value instrument, and then one
Yeah.
which they've got an estimate of like 5 to 6 thousand euros, they'll take like one picture at a dodgy angle, and you just have to think like what's going through the heads of these people.
Actually, no, for those auction houses, I suspect what happened is they basically only take like 1 or 2 pictures, and but for whichever particular lot that their customers are requesting, they'll take a bunch of pictures, upload them to the original listing. That's why sometimes you see certain instruments having more pictures because someone
Right.
asked for it. Yeah.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. So another Mircore violin, Schiphol Villiom. Let's have a quick look at the front. I don't think we need to venture too much. I mean, like this is the F holes are nice on that. It's kind of well, seem quite well made, but not overly exciting. Right, violin circa 1800 in need of work. This is my kind of violin, an in need of work violin. Various cracks in the table, button poorly repaired, so it's what they call, I guess, like the brick. So that someone's just kind of cut away a massive part and put a new bit in, rather than kind of do a better, nicer repair there. But I do like the older instruments. See lots of repairs here on the top.
That table definitely looks like it's gone through stuff.
Yeah, these F holes are a bit kind of all over the place, and I think I don't know, this is interesting. If you look at like the purfling, like the distance, it's just completely uneven.
Yeah.
I mean, this is probably speaking out of turn, but it almost looks like this is kind of an amateur instrument, but from a long time ago. But I could be completely speaking out of turn there. But it looks like it doesn't have, it's not super fine craftsmanship. That's that. Let's have a quick look at the scroll. It's not too bad. That's a very narrow peg box, isn't it? Either that or the picture's misleading.
And the graph goes into the peg box for only so short. I'm just surprised it's still holding it up, because normally it goes up quite a bit.
Yeah, usually you kind of expect it to curve round like here, wouldn't you? But
Yeah.
This one's going almost straight in, so there's something funky going on there.
Maybe because of the small peg box, they can only go so far with it.
Yeah, that is a very thin peg box for sure. But there you go. If you're interested in a kind of older violin, potentially for a cheaper price, that could be one. Okay, let's carry on. Miyako violin, 1921, labelled Paolo Guacamelli or something like that. I don't think we need to really go into this one. It looks like a good soundpost crack there, or close to soundpost crack. So that's going to be interesting one. Quite long as well.
Right with the bridge and post, so an open crack.
Yeah.
So someone kind of glue it back up.
Yeah, I think that's needs a bit closer inspection on that one. Let's have a look. French violin, labelled Georges Apérault, 1934. It's quite a pleasant back. That looks in quite good condition, actually.
Yeah, just normally I don't tend to buy the instruments with these kind of varnish. I don't know why they just look cheap, but sometimes very good instruments, just this sort of a gradient varnish, just at least to my eyes, not my kind.
It reminds me of some of the kind of like later Czech varnished instruments, or the later instruments from Czechoslovakia have that similar kind of, almost looks a bit like sprayed on kind of varnish. There's something about it. It's almost a bit too shiny.
I mean, we don't normally guess the provenance here, but this could as well be from that region. Oh, I mean, he did say it's a French violin, but and the scroll actually looks like some of the Apérault I've seen before.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, but I totally agree with you. Like, from a varnish point of view, there's something not so appealing about that one. Another Miyako violin, unsurprisingly, 1930. Crack under the bridge, or repaired crack under the bridge, so I guess that's better than an unrepaired one. We've lost a bit of the F-hole there. That's gone on a journey somewhere, in a practice room somewhere.
There's something going on below the eye of the right F-hole, the treble F-hole as well.
Right, okay.
Standing down, not sure what that is. I don't think it's a crack. Maybe it is.
Oh, you mean here?
Below the F-hole.
Oh, like here, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, that does look like it's potentially a repaired crack. I wonder if we can see with a bit of the...
Tell you something interesting. I can also annotate on it. but I'm not sure if it will actually show up on
Oh
the
yeah,
recording.
yeah, I can see that. Yeah, yeah, that came up. So, um, yeah, try that again actually, and just see. Try to annotate something. Yeah, that comes up. I think. So
Nice.
yeah,
If
good.
I see anything interesting, I'll just circle it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll give it a go. I think it comes up, but even if it doesn't, it will get people wondering what we're talking about. So that's interesting. Well, let's have a quick look at the scroll, but let's see. Yeah, it's not. It's quite nice.
Pretty well made.
Yeah, it looks like a.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks quite nice. Okay. A very long back actually on that one, 363. M. Quattro Atelier. We've seen one of these already, but it's a nice one-piece back. Let's just quickly look at the front and not get too excited by that one.
Another long one as well.
Yep, it is. Another Amédée de Doyne. I think once again, let's just have a. Oh, the pictures are a bit different on this one. Or maybe
I think the varnish on this looks quite thick.
Yeah, it's quite a dark. It almost looks a bit like the Medafino violins in terms of like the. Yeah, it's quite red. Looks like interesting carve on it. Okay, well let's go past that one for now. Violin, German, circa 1910. Almost like a kind of quilted kind of maple. Almost like you'd expect to see on a guitar or something. Okay.
Slightly crack table. Not sure where that crack is.
Is it this one?
Probably, yeah.
Let's have a quick look at the. That looks like it's could be a bit low potentially. Maybe not. Maybe that's about right.
I guess if you buy an instrument with a crack like this, it isn't too big of a deal. Some luthier can probably fix it without even removing the top.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think so. In a crack like that. That's quite a nice scroll. I don't mind that.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad.
This will be a nice one if the size doesn't bother you.
Yeah, so it's got a bit of a cheek repair there, or something's going on, isn't it? So it's unfortunate. Okay, let's go on. Probably Menison or whatever. Yeah, Menison. Miracle 1890. Emile Menisson. Damage to table edge, chin rest position, fingerboard and nut need attention. Length of back 358. Is this still kind of giving you too many workshop violin vibes?
Yeah, a little bit. It does. I was gonna say the arching definitely reminds me of the Columbus stuff, the few of the French stuff we saw just now. That fingerboard definitely looks a little too high.
Yeah, you can see that they need some attention on the nut. The scroll looks quite tidy though. Okay. I did a few auctions where I had to do them really quickly that had like 700 lots or something like that, and by the end of it I was like half asleep.
Well, I mean, eventually you could just. I'm not sure if this is what you, because if you're thinking of trying to cover everything in case anyone may be interested, or just kind of building a video catalog. Other than that, you may as well just pick a few lots that you find interesting. Just if you don't mind if I add this discussion in, because
Yeah,
a lot of these auctions they don't like to keep a catalog because there may be conflict of interest in their buyers, but for us, if possible, it will be very beneficial if we could keep a record of some of these auctions.
Exactly, yeah. That's why I kind of try to do at least get like a picture of the front and the back and maybe the scroll, or depends on the instrument, just so that if someone did want to look back they could kind of see it. but obviously sometimes that means that the video goes on a bit long. But I think it is kind of useful if possible. So here
Looks
we have a mid 18th century instrument. The head by a different maker. Old, well executed repairs to the table, back and ribs. No damage near the soundpost or bass bar. Varnish mainly good and original. So it's had kind of a bit of a button repair. Yeah, it looks like a fairly interesting instrument.
it's your typical 18th century German violin.
Hmm.
Steiner-ish apple, and so yeah, the setup looks pretty good. This would potentially be a good instrument.
Yeah, this looks like it could be.
So perhaps on that.
Yeah, that's interesting. Is there anything down? Has it been adjusted at the
Well, he
heel?
said the scroll is by a different maker. Maybe the new maker.
It's just a whole new neck, isn't it? Yeah, that makes sense. So let's have a quick look at the scroll. It's quite a nice scroll.
I mean, it matches with the body pretty well. I guess it's a little more red on the varnish.
Yeah, I don't think that's.
Yeah, definitely doesn't look like a German scroll, but
Yeah,
overall, I guess it works.
yeah. No, I think that's all right. If you want to kind of entry into the kind of mid 18th century violin world, I think that could be a viable one.
It says no damage near the sound post and bass bar, which means that it's very well preserved.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's quite rare, isn't it, to find an instrument of that age which hasn't had some damage like that. So, or maybe it's just because the varnish is so kind of retouched. They wanted to kind of I've skipped instrument there. They wanted people to kind of be aware that it's actually in a good condition, I suppose, because it's a bit odd almost to have that statement. It's unusual for that to be a statement, but
I mean, if I don't know if the auction house will be watching the video, but I guess what they can do in the future is to kind of say which repairs been done with a patch. Because sometimes when you have a sound post crack, you don't want to just screw it up. You want to make sure there's actually a patch inside.
yeah, I think Bromptons are good at doing that, aren't they? Because they usually say like soundpost crack on the front with patch or on the back with patch, or they just say without patch. So I think that's quite good because that can make a massive difference to kind of how much it will cost to get it kind of up and running.
Sometimes they'll also draw a little diagram as
Exactly.
which I find definitely a lot more helpful than the text edition report you get from certain auction houses.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, it is. Yeah, quite handy to have that visual aid. Another Colin Mazat violin here in 1907. Looks in.
The early ones do fetch a higher price, so.
The varnish also looks a little bit nicer.
This is the kind I think that's the signature.
Okay.
See if my guess is right.
Yeah. Let's see if we can find it in this sea of.
Oh, I guess they didn't take a picture. The signatures. Oh, that's an odd label. What's that? It's a little sign in the middle. So it's colon something Mizan.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different label to the other one. Yeah, I can't see a signature one. But yeah, scroll looks nice. Okay, well, let's carry on to the next Miyako violin.
This is what you would call a colon Mizan, the one you just saw. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. J. Didlot Atelier, Miyako 1930, length about 360. I think we can just quickly have a quick look at the front of this, just in case. Scroll looks a bit funky actually. What's going on there? Let's have a look. Maybe it's just the shadows. I think it's just something with the varnish maybe, or just looks a bit almost like it's burnt or something. I think it's probably just an odd angle. Yep, that's another kind of standard one. Right, violin Emile Blondelet Artelier for GHL. I think we can just look at a picture here. Yep, pretty standard. That's not very pleasant. Some marks here, but I think we can skip
Have
past this.
just not quite related, but a lot of instruments have these fingernail damage to the right side of the fingerboard. I've heard just different theory on the reason. None of them sound really convincing because
Okay, yeah.
any particular playing technique requires putting up your thumb that high and kind of scratch that part of the top. Not sure if there's some sort of a old playing technique because a lot of famous instruments have this sort of damage.
Yeah.
Not sure.
Yeah, it is. I do find it, yeah, a bit strange when you see some instruments like that. It's a shame, really, because that's quite a bit of the original varnish gone there. But I mean, guess luckily it's not a super high profile instrument. So let's carry on. We're getting there. We're getting through slowly. Right, here we go. Violin,
Great.
English, late 18th century. Excellent, very good. With a label stating it was made by W. Lamzed, pupil of Benjamin Banks, which is interesting. The head by a different maker, cracks and worm damage in the table and ribs, back undamaged, length of back 357. It's amazing actually how much, and I totally understand it, but worm damage in a violin really, or any kind of instrument, really puts people off like quite a lot. There's a lot of fear, I think, with old kind of woodworm. Have you
Well, I'm pretty sure
noticed that?
damage for sure, but I'm pretty sure the worm is already dead. So for me, it doesn't really bother me. It's, they feed on worms. A lot of famous instruments don't have that. So
You can see that it's definitely suffered a bit from that. I mean, I guess the problem is that you don't know the path that the larvae kind of take when they're trying to get out. So it may look like there's only like one hole or something, and then when you get down into it, there's actually loads more. I think that's the problem. I've had some wood actually before in the past when I was making things that on the surface looked kind of fine or had like one hole, and then when you went to cut into it, it was just like a whole maze of like holes everywhere. It was like completely unusable.
that's kind of gross. Yeah.
So that's the problem. I think sometimes what you see on the surface is not the reality. But yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be massively put off by it normally. But this one does look like it has a fair bit on the top in any case. But I do quite like this replacement scroll. It's quite nice. A bit simple maybe, but there's some charm about it. I mean, I think this is quite an interesting instrument, but
Yeah, I was going to say this is totally your kind. It's English, pretty old.
yeah, exactly. That's pretty much like my interest is like, is it old? Is it English? Is it English, American, or Scottish or something like that? That's kind of be my my interest really. But I do like
Um,
the old instruments for sure. So yeah, I think for me so far, this is probably the most interesting. But I think I can see that this is going to be no end of trouble, like from the looking at the top. I think this is going to cause a lot of issues. I mean, I'm sure you could probably get this one up and running, not too badly, but I suspect that this might have lots of funny buzzes and things like that. So
I had to take a look inside, and I think is it called a nut? The one on the top of the fingerboard.
uh
Oh,
oh yeah, the nut right at the yeah.
I think that
Yeah,
also needed some work because the edge is pretty. Well, these are just basic setup stuff that are
yeah,
fixable. Someone has to kind of go in there with a file or put a new one on it.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's not too bad, but yeah, I think it is interesting. But I think this could be one of those instruments that you spend a lot of money trying to chase weird phantom noises around, and it could become a bit stressful. But so far, it's my favourite, I think. Violin labelled and probably by de Hames and Germain, Paris, 1887. Good condition, some retouch. It's length of back 361, so this is quite long. Those pegs are recently fitted, aren't they? And the tailpiece is quite new. Looks like it's come straight off eBay. One of the sellers.
I sometimes I shop for new fittings on older instruments, and I'll go to my fitting supplier, ask for a slightly darker one.
Yeah.
These are just the cheap boxwood fittings.
Yeah.
Some good fitting makers will know how to stain them, so they're good to go on the older instrument.
Yeah.
This one is kind of off.
Yeah, it doesn't look right, does it? It doesn't really fit, unfortunately. Violin, a Leon Mougenot, Miracle 1928. F-hole wing cracks, length of back 359. I think we can just kind of do a quick look over this one and move on. I think we might hit some bows soon, actually.
Still haven't reached my favorite not loud yet, but this one's one too.
Okay. So Violin by Gustave Villiaume, Nancy, 1926. Minor scratches, good condition, length back 356. See the stamp there. It's an impressive back. Is this kind of getting more in your zone?
Oh yeah. Well, this is not my favorite lot in this auction, but I took a look at this one. I thought it was pretty interesting, pretty well made. It's just that even with the real name, this guy's work doesn't fetch too high of a price. But if you're just looking to buy a nice French violin, this one would be pretty good.
Very nice chamfers here on the scroll.
Yeah. And any of these 20th century minor chords, if it has a good transparent varnish, I would look into them, because a lot of them have really good wood, but the kind of a lot of them use some really thick red varnish, just completely kind of kills that wood off. But this one is really, I really like the varnish on this one.
Yeah, no, I think it's quite tasteful, so I can see why this one would be of interest. Okay, and let's carry on. Another Colin Mazin, but it's got the double purfling, so it's a kind of Magini style double purfling. Let's have a quick look here. How do you feel about the double purfling instruments?
No opinion, because I know that there are a lot of them out there. Colin Mazin, even Viola made a bunch of them. It's just like an aesthetic thing. It's just funny that people would associate this with Magini. Well, most Maginis actually only have a single purfling, and usually every made a few double purflings too.
This is I guess similar in a way that Steiner always gets kind of brought up when you get the lion head scrolls, when in reality it's the same thing. Like, he only made like a small number with that, so it's another interesting one.
This is I guess a pretty nice example of the not too late Colin Mazin, the other one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think it's a nice kind of back. The varnish looks nice, so it's good potential. Here we go, violin circa 1903, labelled Giassone Tomasucci, Roma, 1903. I definitely butchered that name, 100%. One wing crack, length of back 356. Something interesting going on at the back. This just screams to me like fake antiqued, but what they call like the screwdriver antiquing. I wouldn't be surprised.
I guess the antique on the front looks alright from a distance.
Yeah, I just wouldn't be. This is the kind of instrument I'd usually expect to see like some kind of like fake neck grafting or something like that.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at the scroll. The scroll is kind of pleasant enough. I don't really have too many thoughts on this. It's not something that's aesthetically appealing to me personally, but definitely a curious one. Okay. Calcin Atelier, circa 1875.
One of those.
Yeah. French violin. Did a copy of Klotz. Length of back 360. Yeah, these are the ones that I see definitely like this. I had one quite similar actually. That usually definitely have fake neck grafts and things like that. But yeah.
Well, for one this age, it probably has a real one, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah. Although 1875 is a bit later, isn't it? But it's possible. Let's have a look. Let's see what we have. That also looks quite high on the bridge, but maybe it's just me. No graft on that. There's a nice scroll though. That's in my opinion anyway. Yep. Not so appealing to me, but I'm sure they'll have.
If you can go back to the picture,
Oh yeah.
Back of the scroll, you know, it's like once a standard for workmanship is how far you treat that little triangle area to the bottom.
Oh right, I can see. Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, this one is just it's just kind of bothering me already. Where a little bit is fine, but like if you leave this much, like these to my eyes, kind of gets me every time.
Yeah. Does this bother you as well? That it's kind of a bit wavy.
Yeah, a little bit. It's alright. So I've seen something like this on one of the violin now. So after seeing a few, it gets a little better. But that little triangle is still. But if you, yeah, if you look at all the pegs, they're all kind of slanted too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what gets the OCD going. Okay, another Colin Mazar, because we haven't had enough of these already. It's the later one, 358. Let's just have a quick look. Looks in good condition. Once again, I guess if you're interested in a French violin, it's not too bad an option. Right, violin, Steiner copy, late 18th century. An interesting violin. Minor table and rib repairs, some varnish loss and over varnish. Length of back 355. Looks like it has some interesting things. Let's have a quick look here.
This one is not bad. I mean, the thing with these Steiner copy is the most German, or in Brompton's term, more like Tyrolean maker will make these Steiners in the 18th century. There are a lot of them out there, and these are proper 18th century violins. So if you can get them set up running, they're not bad. And I just don't know if for a violin like this, you could actually do a maker to it, because they're all making these Steiners at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you want an entry into that kind of 18th century zone, it's like a fairly kind of cheaper way, I suppose, to get in. And it has some charm. Once again, this scroll is a little bit kind of all over the place, but then for the age, it kind of makes a bit more sense, I suppose. But
Nice.
Quite tight. I quite like the tight turns here on this scroll. It's had some repairs and things going on, but yeah, I think it's it's interesting. As they say, interesting indeed.
T2 will have a good selection of this kind of instruments.
Right. Okay.
It's like kind of their favorite. It's a repair label in it.
Yeah. Andre something. We don't see the full full thing, but yeah, that's well, certainly a bit more interesting than all the Miracle ones. Speaking of that, Violin by Leon Mougenot. Once again, we can just go past that. I don't think we need to talk too much about that one. Right, Violin de Razy School, Miracle 1890. Repair to the table, upper bass side, some retouch to the table, length of back 362. Suppose this is getting a bit, once again, horrible fittings, absolutely horrible.
Probably by the same person.
Yeah. Shame really doesn't help with the aesthetics of that instrument at all.
I feel like, if you kind of find a good fitting for older instruments, and if you want to buy some of those cheaper fittings, just buy the ebony one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. This just doesn't. It's just not nice looking, really. It's a shame because I'm sure the instrument is probably quite good, but
this one's it's not bad at all. Besides the dimension, but other than that, solid. Scroll is very well made. Maybe towards the end of the eye, people want a cleaner shot, but
yeah,
for French violin, this is like, this is above standards, at least in my opinion.
Yep, definitely, but unfortunately ruined by cheap fittings at the moment.
Yeah.
But that can be rectified. Right, Violin by Amédée Dudouin, Miracle 1935.
This is the kind I was talking about. I've seen better ones in this auction, but yeah, the kind of wood this guy would use, at least say this workshop would use for the backs, are just...
Yeah. Okay, let's carry on. Right, Violin, German, circa 1920. Could retouch is poor, could be improved. 358. It's kind of pretty standardy looking. Have a quick look at the scroll. That's not too bad. Looks kind of tidy enough. JTL. Yep. Good old JTL. I think we don't really need to investigate this one. Darker, that kind of dark red varnish. Let's. Here we go.
Oh, another Colimazan.
Yeah, another one, 1928. They're really, yeah. I mean, there must be so many of those in France anyway. It's be pretty easy to pick them up. So I think we've talked about them enough. Right, Violin Bohemian, 1920, labelled M. Sadner. Length of back 356. I think not overly exciting, in my opinion. Just have a quick look at that. Okay. Right, Violin, Cousineau, Atelier, 1930. 358. Looks kind of similar, I guess, to the Colin Mazan ones, I suppose. Pretty standard.
Nice. That lining is... Should I call that lining? That black line was pretty well done.
Yeah, that was a lot neater than some of the other ones that we've seen, actually, if we go back to it.
It's just unfortunate some of these are lesser known for us, not in France, that these violins don't tend to fetch too high of a price. But some of them are just so well made. If I had the money for a personal collection, this will go into it.
Yeah. Like I say, it's quite a neat one. Another Amédée Dudouin, 1922. I think we can just have a quick look at the front. I don't think we need to. It looks very clean, or mostly clean. We can carry on. Right, Violin, circa 1950, labelled Ruzika. Bohemian violin, good condition, length of back 356. This looks very clean so far. but also not too inspiring. Let's have a quick look here. The ribs are quite pinched there, aren't they? So have a quick look at the scroll. That looks kind of clean enough, but nothing outrageous. Right, violin, interesting, early 18th century, possibly English, by Edward Pamphilion. Very skillfully enlarged in the upper bounce by about 6 mil. I think you can kind of see that just here on the line. Yeah, skillfully repaired cracks. Instrument is ready for a player. Length back 354. So I mean, this is, I guess, one of the more interesting instruments here. Oh my god, not these horrible fittings again. Please stop. Like, just even the fact that these are just like, but why? I just don't understand. Like, aesthetically, who thought that this worked? Like, it's just so bad.
Bought a bunch of them and just start putting them on these violins.
Yeah, they just bought 20,000 sets of them from China, so now they have to use them all on any violin. Honestly, they're just. This is probably the worst example so far. This is such a color clash. It's a shame because this is actually a very interesting instrument.
Well, but the instrument though, because of the upper bout enlargement, the shape just looks kind of odd to my eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, you can kind of see here. You can see that kind of edge, that kind of 6 mil. It's
Well,
curious.
the back is alright. It just when you look at the front, it looks quite unorthodox. Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting why they did that, really. It almost looks like they kind of tried to do it to, like, mirror the shape of the lower bouts, but in a smaller size.
It could be a small violin, big,
Yeah.
large.
It's odd because now it kind of mirrors. It would have been a bit more rounder, which would have been a bit more pleasing, but then maybe I guess it would have been like very narrow at the top compared to the bottom, which is quite wide. But we can only speculate on the motivations for people to do this kind of stuff. But as they say, it's been fairly well done. I mean, difficult to say until you have it kind of in your hand and looking at it.
The root of the neck below chulo, they call it. I forgot what the term for it is. I forgot what it's called because the heel of the neck is a little too. Some of these older violins do have that issue.
Right.
Doesn't make sense, but just in modern standard, it is a little low. The market like over here. Some of the Strats even have this too. These are just an older setup standard.
Right, okay. Yeah, I think it's interesting here as well. I wonder if, like, this might have an effect on the sounds as well, if it's kind of touching there on the top.
Some, back in the 18th century, they do a lot of these really wacky enlargements, and I've read a story on how they shrunk a viola to a violin.
Right, okay. Yeah. Some of the things are just pretty mad, aren't they? Like, kind of changing the shapes of instruments and then changing them back, and then it just keeps on going on, and it's just, yeah, the motivations for some of these things I'm not quite sure of, but yeah, some instruments have had a poor life for sure.
A very well done graft.
Yeah, the graft is absolutely that's an amazing graft. Look, even like the kind of lining up of like the varnish in the grain, that is very, very well done. Yeah, difficult to spot that one, which is, the way it should be, really. So
some really good hands for repair.
Yeah, I think, like they say, it's kind of been well done. The bit asymmetrical, the scroll, but it has charm, as I like to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very quite rustic. I like the head's quite sweet on that. It's like quite small in compared. Yeah, I think this is an interesting instrument, but it's probably needs a bit of well, they say it's ready to play, but I think it might need a bit of adjustment. And yeah, horrible fittings that need to be changed.
Yeah.
But,
Swap fittings first.
yeah, that's the first thing to do. Another JTL violin, pretty standard.
Not a particularly bad JPL, this one actually. Well, besides all the retouching you need to be doing on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's have a look here. Violin probably by Augusto Lorni, Rome 1904. Probably Italian. Labelled probably by Augusto. Good condition, open strings, minor saddle crack, 360. It's quite long.
There's just so many of these 20th century Italian deep red varnish. Some of them just really horribly made. This one just looks okay.
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad, but it's it doesn't look like anything too super exciting.
Yeah. The setup's not bad. The neck looks pretty good.
The workmanship looks pretty standard. It doesn't look incredible, but I've seen worse. So, but yeah, potentially a cheaper Italian instrument. Well, I say cheaper. That's 2.5. It's quite a lot. But yeah, it's not something I would pursue. But I'm sure some people are interested. Oh, another Colin Mazar. Well, that's a surprise. So is your favourite one still to come, or have we passed it? Still
We're
to come.
almost there. Almost there. I forgot a lot number, but
yeah, because I was going to say we must be near the bow soon, because there's only 74 things in the auction. So let's carry on. Right, Violin, a violin labelled Berthold Karner Mittenwald, 1750. Good 18th century German violin, probably by Berthold Karner. There was 4 restored cracks on the table. No post or bar. Rib repairs, plain condition, 359.
I think this should be the one I was talking about.
Is this your one? This is your this is your pick of the auction. Oh no, not again.
Yeah.
Oh dear God. I hadn't even, because I quickly looked over the catalogue before, but I hadn't actually noticed that, but now I see it now. Oh dear. Yeah. It doesn't actually look too bad on this one.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Because higher varnish, maybe it fits pretty well.
Yeah. It looks like quite a nice instrument though.
I mean, nothing too specific that I find is too fascinating, but just overall, I just think it's a nice violin.
So it looks like it's had mechanical tuners or something on here before. Do you think, with these pin plugs?
Probably, yeah. Because I've seen those on some of the cheap German stuff where they have the screw-ins, almost like a gearbox, not a box, but like it's like a gear on it that you screw in.
Yeah. It's quite a cute little scroll. And yeah, looks like nice varnish. Yeah, it's had a bit of work gone on there. Nice turns on the scroll. Yeah, I can see how that would be a good choice.
It's just a tiny bit too long, but I feel like out of all the 18th century violin in this auction, this one definitely stands out a little bit, at least to my eyes.
Yeah, I think 359 is workable.
Yeah.
Oh, another Colin Mazan, but
with the older one.
Older one, yeah. This is, I guess that means like the father or whatever they're trying to say. There, I'm not quite sure. 3 repaired cracks to the table, including sound post with internal patch, neck grafted. So it looks, does look of better quality than the others actually. This actually looks very similar to, in varnish, to the JB Collin one that I've seen.
Yeah.
Like similar quality. This is a bit better looking. It looks quite nice varnish actually. I wouldn't be offended by this one.
I shouldn't say this. I don't know if I say it quietly, it will be fine. But about the estimate for this violin, I would say it's slightly on the high side, but it's worth it for a older Colin Mazan. But considering the condition, I don't think it will be too high.
Yeah. I guess with the
It's a, I feel like it's a very well played one. So definitely it's a lot of playing done. So which could imply that actually sounds pretty good. Some of the on one of the other auctions, I've seen a similarly aged Colin Mazan. They're just new, so I don't know what's the reason that they're selling it. Yeah. A few years back, these violins, they easily fetch like in the US $8,000, $10,000.
Oh wow.
But
Okay.
in Europe, but in Europe they're everywhere. So
yeah, it's interesting how that goes because like there's certain German violins, French violins that are, or even English violins that aren't worth that much here, but ship them over to the US and they go up. And then also I see like lots of kind of lower kind of American violins that aren't worth very much in the US that you ship them over here and they're worth like a little bit more. It's not like an outrageous amount more, but it's like I think they have a bit more just because they're a bit more. It's a bit rarer to find American violins over here.
Some of the old Boston violins do look pretty interesting. I've seen a few in T2. Yeah, they're older and some of them are pretty well played and.
Yep. Well, I think out of all of the Colin Mazans, this one looks the most interesting to me. Obviously, soundposts crack not ideal, but it's been patched, so. But no, quite like it.
It's by the OG Colin Mazan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like that. Let's see. Oh, we're on bows. I'm not massively kind of knowledgeable about bows.
To be honest, I know nothing about bows, so I may actually learn something today. That if you can explain to me, what you find them interesting.
Well, yeah, that's I don't know really. That is a good question. Well, cello bow branded Adam. Let's have a quick look. I usually just kind of look at the frog and their heads. I mean, I'm not massively knowledgeable either, to be honest, about kind of bows. Although bows are kind of an interest of mine, I find the modern bows quite difficult to kind of get into. To be honest, more into the Baroque ones. Yeah, I haven't got much to kind of say about this particular one. I mean, looks like a viable enough cello bow. So go on to the next one and see if there's something else. Cello bow English, early 20th century. Probably Hill workshop, so not sure about that 100%. I've seen a lot of Hill cello bows and a lot of Hill violin bows. It has some kind of similarities. It's got like the kind of old school open frog there, which I'm not really. Yeah, I think I'd be question if like the button and frog is original to the stick on this one, but I could be completely wrong there. So I'm not 100% sure on that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Not at all. Just kind of just looking at it and listening at this moment because my knowledge in bows is so limited. I can't even say if this is good or bad. I mean, they all look pretty good to me because I know I'm
the same really.
Yeah, because I have one bow that's made by a bow maker friend, and I use that bow to play on all the old violins I have. So, and I know that's a good one. So that's like my only reference.
Yeah, I mean it looks good. I mean most of the things in these auctions are pretty good, pretty viable. This one is just kind of giving me odd vibes. The open kind of trench frog and the kind of slightly oversized button is just a bit odd, but I don't know enough about the kind of early 20th century Hill
And it's a
output to know.
yeah, and it's a cello bow, so not sure.
Yeah, exactly. Even more detached from my limited knowledge. So
Nice.
violin bow, early 20th century, silver Manta violin bow, 57.3 grams, which is not too bad. Weight wise, looks a bit kind of plain.
Yeah, this one looks popular.
Yeah,
There's
there's a few
yeah,
bids at least. So yeah, it looks kind of okay-ish enough. It's not screaming anything to me at the moment, but yeah, I'm very similar position where I'm not all that knowledgeable. Looks like there might be something going on at the tip there. So not massive descriptions on the bows so far. Violin
it
bow
did.
by
I guess
say that again.
yeah, it does tell you how much it weighs. I guess for some people, it's quite important.
Yeah, that's very important for sure. So Violin Bow by Otto Schuler, middle of 20th century. That is silver mounted, 60 grams. That's getting on. That's like the kind of
Heavy side.
yeah. That's on the top end really. You wouldn't really want to go much heavier than that. But I mean, it could be a very fine bow. Have a quick look at that. I mean, it looks like it's got a quite nice head. It's quite elegant.
And bows are such a personal thing. Some people, a heavier bow maybe even fitting for their technique. Um, I've I've
Exactly.
heard,
Yeah.
I've heard players say, unless you're a dealer that you know exactly what kind of bow you're buying. If you're just buying a bow for yourself, you definitely should try it out.
Oh yeah, 100%. And also it depends what instrument you're using, the player themselves, like what your muscle structure is, and also what pieces you're playing, which is why I guess many players have like four bows or so, like professionals with them, because some
Yeah.
bows just work better for different pieces of music. So yeah, definitely, you've got to try these bows. Makes sense. Violin Bow by Mark Lebert, circa 1920, 61 grams. That's a bit heavy, silver mounted. I mean, that's all I can say really is that on paper it's potentially a bit heavy, but you know that could really work. I have come across students wanting to try um, viola bows before for violin playing. They wanted like a heavier bow, and I've seen viola players want to try violin bows, so anything's viable I think really. And I've actually come across a bow before that was so completely in the middle in design and weight that it literally could be a violin or viola bow. Like it was so just kind of in the middle. The weight was like right at the top weight of a violin bow, but right at the bottom of a viola, and even the shape and the styling was kind of like in between. So cello bow by Bazin, that's pretty common, circa 1920. Frog and screw from the same source but made for a different bow. New hair and lapping, 76.2. Looks a little, buttons a little bit wonky there. It's a bit worn inside I think. Looks a
I
bit
mean that is a name I heard a few times on bows.
yeah, it's a very kind of common kind of like um, name I think from that time. You see a lot of them in the auctions. I think it looks like there's some work being done to this eye here. Maybe it's been replaced or something. Few kind of marks here on the frog, but nothing too crazy.
For bows, I'm not sure, but is it important to have the original screws and frogs and stuff?
Definitely, definitely has a massive impact on the value, especially on the um, higher value ones for sure. Yeah, I think having, I mean, I think it gets a bit of a grey area if it's like it's like the same maker, but it's not from the same bow. I think
Yeah,
that's not so bad as having a non-original one, but yeah, it definitely has like an effect on the value for sure.
that's interesting. Because on the violin, it really doesn't matter what fitting it's on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I see what you're trying to say there. But yeah, definitely having a non-original button and a non-original frog would definitely impact the value for sure. maybe not massively for certain ones, but for like if you're going really high end, like a Taut or a Picat or something like that, then it's going to be a massive deal on that. I mean, sometimes I think. So say that again.
That's probably why it says frog screw from the same store, so made from a different bow. Because you see how it's like warped a little bit. That could be
Yeah,
why.
exactly. Yeah, so I think that might not affect the value as bad as it being a completely non-related kind of frog or button, but it's definitely, you can see that there's some mismatch there. I think sometimes like even having the original lapping can be a selling point for some people for some reason on bows, on certain bows. You might see that mentioned sometimes in auctions, like original lapping.
Mhm.
So, which seems a bit odd to me, but for some reason that seems to be a thing. Violin Bow, German, circa 1920, silver mounted, new hair and lapping. Interesting button, that. It's quite curious. 58.5. It looks curious. I've not got much to say. It's got a bit of impact damage there, a bit of a dent. Always worth looking at that a bit closer. Looks like it's been well used, but otherwise doesn't look too bad. The button seems to be fairly straight, but a few little chips out of the frog.
It's an interesting looking screw head.
Yeah, I've not seen one like that before, but I think having read on some of the forums that you do often get some curious buttons in some of the German production of that time, and I think if you look at some of the bow catalogues, you can actually see all the different kind of styles that they have. Violin bow, probably English, 19th century. Repaired to cracking the stick above the frog mortise, and the handle in playing condition 62. That's pretty heavy. You can see there's quite a lot of a bit of wear. Actually, it's not so bad for its age. It's not too bad really.
I wonder where that crack is. Stick above the frog nose.
Yeah, let's see if there's a picture. Let's quickly have a look at the.
I mean, it's, even for bows, it's amazing how many pictures there are available.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
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 There's it's probably on the inside of this stick.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to see it there at the moment, but worth investigating a bit further. I mean, it looks it's one of the more interesting bows so far. Could be a good playing bow, potentially.
I mean, at least the bow stick is pretty complete. There's no big repairs, so I guess these are all of these bows don't have serious issues. Because for bows, like the worst thing, probably worse than having a back sound post crack on the violin, is you have a bow that was in half and a screw back together.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean that's almost like, I mean you can repair a bow, and I have seen like kind of grafted bows and things like that, but really that's almost like the nail in the coffin for a bow. And I think,
I mean, I mean, if the repair is well done, it could be as good as before, but the value wise, it's done.
Oh yeah, the value's just completely gone really on that. That's the thing, and I think the bows are way more likely to kind of suffer from fatal damage than violins, or be not really salvageable. I mean, you could still take a really fine violin that had been kind of dropped and crushed. If you got like an amazing restorer, you could probably restore it to a position where it still sounds really amazing and probably still had at least a fair value. But with a bow, I think you're in kind of trouble territory.
Yeah, and I guess for all the bows so far, they're pretty complete, pretty good.
Yeah, exactly. So here's a French bow, circa 1910, JBL, 62.2 grams. It's quite heavy. I mean, I don't know. To me, it just looks, the button looks odd. It just doesn't really fit size-wise, but I could be completely wrong here. Even the frog, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm no way an expert, so I'm sure an expert would be able to say, oh yes, it is original or whatever, but it looks a little bit, odd.
Ooh, I mean, the end of that screw is like completely, I don't know, it's like, 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 corroded, or I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, it's quite
And for some of these, I don't know if JTL bows are mass produced. I mean, they could have like a bunch of screws not particularly fit for any bow stick. They just kind of shove it in.
yeah, it's
I don't know.
entirely possible. Yeah, I think it's something that I'm not too knowledgeable about, and I need to kind of look into a bit more. Really, this is an interesting one actually. That it's not octagonal here at the stick. It's actually like cut in, so it's actually
Yes.
like a kind of half circle kind of cut in. You see a few different ones. Some have like tracks where it's just like a single track that it follows in the center. So there's a few different designs there on some of the bows. Another violin bow by Bazat, 1880, 59.5. So it's got a Raffin certificate, which is usually from like the French auction houses, because I believe by law they need to provide like a certificate stating what it is. So you see a lot of stuff coming out of the French auction houses with these certificates.
Remember, there's this other French guy. What's his name? Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to see. Just what's the other guy's name for a certificate? Yeah, Rowan Paul. It's another big name for French certificate.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they do that in the French auction houses actually. And this once again looks like a viable bow for sure. Yeah, that's a bit interesting. You see here that knot right there in the wood.
Yeah.
So that would, I guess, be a bit concerning. But then again, it's already been around for like nearly 150 years and it's still there. But ordinarily, that would be a bit of I'd be interested in looking at that a bit closer.
Is that a deficiency in the wood or like a repair?
That looks to me a bit like a knot, but it could be a repair. But it looks a bit like a knot in the wood from some of the kind of bows that I've kind of worked on. And it's not mentioned here. I would assume that's a knot, but I could be completely wrong. So you can't. There's nothing on the other side, so I think that's. So
Yeah.
I think it's a knot in the woods. And I've kind of, when I've been trying to make a few bows, I've come across like knots like this. Sometimes you just kind of, it starts as a little kind of mark, and then you're working it, and suddenly you see that there's a bit of a knot. And sometimes if you've got a really good quality stick and you've been working on it and you feel that the knot is stable, then why not? Why wouldn't you just continue to use it? And I think you see a lot of bows like that. It worries people, I think, because they think, right, my bow's gonna snap like right here, and I guess that is possible, but this one seems to at least stood the test of time.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a concern after like 150 years already.
Yeah. One thing that's interesting here, the angle looks quite steep on the head. It looks like there's something going on here. I don't know if there's been some repair here or not. I could be once again speaking out of turn, but it looks like quite a steep angle.
Is it possible because the bow stick is bent for a lot? If you look at the next picture, so that
okay.
it appears that it's at a higher angle, maybe. It's funny. Maybe they did it just for the knot, because you can see how radical the angle here goes.
Yeah. And that is a bit interesting.
The stick bends. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what this really means, but I don't know anything about bows. I just find it kind of interesting.
Yeah. It's definitely worth looking into a bit more if you're interested in that particular bow. Right, another violin bow by JTL. Certificate to Pierre Guillaume.
Oh, nice.
So I presume if it's, I mean, you probably can't read the certificate because it's going to be in French, but I presume that yeah, I mean,
yeah, fait par bon acheteur. That means it's probably made by a good bow maker.
yeah,
Maison, so House of JTL. Yeah, So it basically says it's made by JTL Workshop.
Yeah, which is interesting because to me, like, I just look at these kind of like, I mean, that fits a bit better. The collar fits on this one, but it still seems a bit odd to me. The button seems a bit larger than the stick diameter, which I find a little bit strange. But that's probably just my naivety in terms of
At least
bow.
this one doesn't like the bow stick kind of match with the button, unlike the other one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely like to learn a bit more about this and kind of get a bit more knowledgeable. It's the same as when I look at auctions which have kind of instruments like kind of African or Asian instruments. I really have quite like little knowledge on that, and I really should try and take a bit more time to learn about them a bit more. Well, I think we've got to the end of it, so that was a good one. Um, let's just do a quick recap. So I think I was interested in which English violin was I interested in?
I think you passed it because yeah.
Was it this one? I think it
Uh,
was that one, wasn't it? Yeah, there you go. The Benjamin
oh,
Bax one, yeah. So I think this is going to be my pick of the auction because I'm boring. I also clearly love woodworm and
yeah.
English violins. So yeah, so that's my woodworm choice of the auction. I think that's kind of interesting. And then uh,
Ar- arguably, I also had a woodworm choice.
okay, did yours
Yeah.
have for woodworm as well? So
I mean,
you were going
not.
for
I think it's a little below that. Going there you go. The Carner. Yeah.
okay, the Mittenwald one, yeah.
I mean, the top does look like it's been through. Even the back, I'm not sure if the back looks pretty complete. I
I
think
think
I don't
this
see any
is
cracks.
yeah. I think this is okay actually. I think it has a few cracks, but I don't think it's been that munched on. I mean, it's kind of like a little bit troubled in a few places, but I think that's yeah. I think that's not bad and an interesting scroll. So yeah, good choice. Yours is a bit more likely to go for a bit more money than mine, but I am the budget man. As cheap as can get it really. So yeah. Well, I mean, this was the Amber Violins catalogue, so a bit of an in-depth look into that. If you're watching this video, then this ends on April the 20th. I'll put a link in the description. Thanks a lot for joining myself and Max on this adventure. Max, do you have any final words on this auction?
Well, not really. I would say the auction is similar to um, the other auctions by this company, and I think they've been pretty consistent with the quality of the instrument they're bringing. I mean, it's definitely an interesting auction house that to stick around with. I had a pretty pleasant experience with them. So
Yeah.
yeah, some of the instruments may need repairs. So if you're a player, you may have to kind of consult your luthier on it. But if you're a dealer or kind of know what you're buying, then Amber is definitely a pretty good choice. Yeah.
And I think most of the sales from this particular auction house do go to just dealers and stuff like that. But yeah, if you are a kind of an individual, just be aware of that and all the additional prices. But yeah, I mean, the pictures are amazing, so have a look at the pictures. I'm sure if you want additional information, you can contact them. And yeah, I think an interesting auction. Maybe a few too many French violins for my liking, but I mean,
Yeah.
shouldn't really hold that against them. They're all pretty good. Even the workshop French ones are pretty good condition, so we can't hold it against them too much. So yeah, great. Well, thanks a lot everyone for watching, and check out the next auction. Amber Violins have quite a few, maybe 4 or 5 each year, so I'm sure we'll be back again with another one of those auctions shortly. So once again, thanks a lot, and ciao for now. Many thanks for tuning in to the Musical Instrument Investigator. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, then please like, subscribe and turn on notifications, and watch out for the next video coming soon.